The Trojans have played more than a quarter of the season so far. In fact, USC is 1/3 of the way through their regular season. And on the whole, the team gets an A for being undefeated, 4-0. But what did the rest of the report card look like? We'll talk about that on this episode of Locked On USC.
You are Locked On USC, your daily podcast on the USC Trojans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Fight on, everyone. I'm your host, Mark Holkin, and thanks for making Locked On USC. It's part of the Locked On Network, your first listen every single day. Whether you are watching this show on YouTube, wherever you want to download your podcast, this show is always free, and this show always appreciates your support. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers, if you can bet just $5, and if that $5 bet wins, you're going to get $300 in bonus bets that you can use across the entire FanDuel app. Download the app today. So the Trojans are undefeated. You know that, right? They've looked great at times. They've looked not so great and other times during their 4-game winning streak. So despite being undefeated, there are a few flaws that have been exposed. And we're going to talk about that. I'm going to give my report card in the first segment. In the second segment, I'm going to give you some notes and quotes from Coach Riley. He was talking about the team, his impressions, and then we're going to wrap the show up with a few questions and answers from this week's mailbag. I have not forgot about you guys. I love my everydayers. If you're watching this show on YouTube and you haven't subscribed yet, right now, just click that red subscribe button. It's free. It's going to help the show. Smash that thumbs up. Keep sending in your comments. And I don't want you to miss a single episode, so hit that bell notification. Now, before I hand out my almost midterm grades, the question I have is this. Is the whole greater than the sum of its parts? As far as this team, maybe some of you have heard that idiom before. When it comes to USC's football team, I think the answer is yes. Yes, the whole can be greater than the sum of its parts. And the reason being is there's a certain synergy with this team. There's a vibe. They play well together. They play complementary football. They don't play complementary football all the time, but they're doing it enough that even though each position group might not be great, there's enough in there to elevate them. And I'll give you some examples here during this segment. So again, not all the parts are equal. However, they're working together, and they're working together well enough that at the end of the day, and this is all that matters, the team looks better than all of its parts, and they're 4-0. So on the whole, yes, I think it rings true. This team right now, again, I talked about the synergy. They've got great chemistry. The communication, I think, is fantastic. Can it be better? Sure. That might clean up some of those explosive plays that they're getting burned on in the passing game. But that spirit right now, it's greater than the sum of their skills. That's the difference between this year and those first few years. This team is very close to Lincoln Riley's first year at USC. But this is actually, most of this roster are guys he's recruited. So that's, I think, why you're starting to see this all of a sudden. But again, it's time to give out some position group grades. Again, not really midterm. That's after 6 games. I will do it then as well. But right now, if they had to take home a progress report, maybe that's the best way to describe that. The young men are taking home a progress report. So everybody's getting some of you might get this, I don't know. On my report cards growing up as a kid, we got the letter grade for our academic work, and then we got our attitude grade. Everybody's getting an E for their attitude. Excellent. I actually got a lot of AUs, which is really hard to do, but I did it. I knew the material, but I had an attitude, so I was getting a lot of unsatisfactories. I'll give you an anecdote about that if I remember at the end of the show. anyways, moving forward about this USC team. Let's start with the quarterback position. The Trojans right now, they're putting up 331 yards per game. That's really good. Mayava, he gets a strong A grade, not A plus, but a very strong A, leaning to A plus, more so than leaning towards A minus. He hasn't been perfect, or again, he would be getting that extra plus at the end, but he's been nearly perfect. He's been really good. After a third of the season, Jaden so far has been responsible for 13 touchdowns, 0 turnovers. I love that last number. 9 passing, 4 rushing. He leads the nation in passer rating, as well as yards per completion, and literally by a full yard. He's getting almost 13 yards per completion, 12.7. And he's also completing 71% of his throws. However, we know he has a big test this Saturday. But right now, going into that game, he could show that report card to his parents, that progress report, and he's going to see an A-E. And you'll understand why he's getting that E in the next segment when I tell you about what Coach Riley had to say. The running backs, they're getting a solid A. Right now, the running back group, the USC as a team, they're number 12 in the country. They're putting up 252 yards per game on the ground. Yeah, that sounds fantastic. Just to kind of let you know where they are in the big picture. Washington, they're number 9. They're putting up 260 yards per game. You love their running back, Jonah Coleman. Number 10, Oregon, 255 yards per game. Number 11, just ahead of USC, is Michigan, 253. Those programs that I just mentioned are known for running the ball. Guess what? USC is hanging out with some good company in that regard. So you got Waymon Jordan, Eli Sanders. Both of them have been outstanding. Then you got King Miller, who all he does is, score touchdowns. And then hopefully Brian Jackson, he's going to be ready to rock and roll as well. I think USC is missing his ability in the red zone and definitely near the goal line. So got to get Brian Jackson back. Offensive line, the dudes up front, an A. They're keeping Mayava's uniform clean. The Trojan quarterbacks, when Husan Longstreet's getting in the game, they've only been sacked 3 times all year. 2 of those sacks came against Purdue. One of them was Jaden just holding on to the ball way, way, way too long. Let's contrast and compare. Last year, through 4 games, USC had allowed 9 sacks. That's a big difference. And the other thing the offensive line's doing, they're opening up holes in the run game. I just talked about it. 252 yards per game. Now, the competition will be a little tougher this week. We'll see how they do against Illinois' defensive front. The wide receivers, I struggled with this one, but I'm giving them an A minus. Am I grading it too harshly? Maybe. Makai Lemon, he's playing like an All-American. Jacoby Lane has been pretty good too, right? Little inconsistent. He missed the last game. Hopefully he's back on Saturday. Based on practice reports, it looks like he'll be available. He was suited up, ready to rock and roll. We will see. We will see. I think the only real issue I have with the wide receiver room right now is they haven't established a true number three wide receiver. He hasn't really separated himself. Tanuk Hines is making a play for that. However, Zacharias Williams, Prince Strawn, if they're healthy, they got to get back on the field. Jay Fair, Xavier, DJ Jordan, they need to step up their efforts right now. Because right now, I think USC, the coaching staff, the fans, they were anticipating maybe a little bit more. So A minus, B plus, I'll give them an A minus just because Makai Lemon lifts that room that much right now. So that leaves the tight ends left on your offensive side of the ball. The group that's being coached up by Chad Savage has earned an A grade. Offense has been really good this year. I don't think anybody's going to dispute that. They've been outstanding in the blocking game, run blocking, pass protection. Lake McCree, Walker Lyons, they have turned, they're actually wide receiver number 3. That is Jaden's outlet if he needs to, but they also make big plays. So I'm sure enough of you have heard the phrase quality over quantity. They don't catch a ton of passes, but the ones they do, they're impactful. All right, let's flip to the other side of the ball. Defense. Let me first ask this question. All right. Have they underperformed? Have they performed as anticipated? Or have they overachieved? You get to answer that question. Let me know in the comment section. I think yes is an appropriate answer, depending on specificity. So I think this, you can designate, underperformed, anticipated how they were going to perform, or overachieve based on the actual position groups, maybe players within the groups. So let's start up front, defensive line. I'm giving these guys an A+. A+. By far, strongest grade on this roster right now. Best report card. Everyone is contributing. Cam Crawford, Braylon Shelby. Yes, it's no longer Cameron Fountain. It's Cameron Crawford. Braylon Shelby, Anthony Lucas, Jakeem Stewart, Jade Abasiri, Devin Tompkins, the 700 pounds of brothers from the SEC, Keyshawn Silver, Jaw Jarrett, the freshman phenom, Floyd Boucard. This is why they're getting an A+. They lead the nation in sacks with 16. Most of them are coming up front from the defensive line. They're also strong against the run. Right now, as a team, USC has given up 92 yards per game. A lot of that's because of the work the guys up front are doing. And when the defensive linemen are not getting to the quarterback, they're getting him off his spot. I could not find the stat for pressures, but I think the exact number is, and I'm quoting this, a lot. Coach Riley has said that the defensive line, their presence has been felt in every game so far this season. You can't argue with that. All right, so let's now examine the linebacker play. Here is a perfect example of that idiom. Is the whole greater than the sum of its parts? Yes. Eric Gentry, A++++. Dude is playing as well as he was last year before he got hurt against Penn State. He might even be playing better. He is playing at an all-American level right now, and you're starting to hear people talk about him in the NFL. Starting to get that type of talk. So where Eric Gentry has done everything you anticipate from Eric Gentry, what about Desmond Stevens, Jaden Walker, Tamir Robinson? How's the rest of the linebackers? How are they working? Well, I think Stevens is a guy who sees the most reps along with Eric Gentry. So I'm going to use him as the counterbalance. Against Michigan State, he was third on the team with tackles, 5. 4 of those were solo by himself, and he's third on the team in tackles this season. So statistically, he's pulling his weight. Here, I guess this is a question, and it's rhetorical. Is this a case of too much coach speak, too much hype going into the season compared to getting that wow factor that I think everybody was anticipating? So if Eric Gentry is the A+ and the rest of the room, I'm going to give him a C. Linebackers right now through 4 games, B-. Eric Gentry is carrying that group. Others have got just to step up their game a little bit. The safeties, they've looked great at times. Bishop Fitzgerald has been huge. He's also had a few breakdowns, but for the most part, he's those interceptions, the way he's played, the way he's transitioned, it's like he's been here forever. You've got Kamari Ramsey and Christian Pierce. They're adjusting to their new roles. Ramsey, right now, he's playing nickel. Pierce, I think he's just trying to get used to playing all these reps that he's playing right now. He's made some plays as well. Everyone's been impactful. But, again, I think people were anticipating more. I'm going to allow a little bit of latitude because of the injuries and the shuffling around. I don't think Kamari's best position is nickel. So right now, safeties, you get a C+. The corners, and I'm being really generous when I say C-, being really generous. DeCarlos Nicholson has been solid. He had that really nice interception earlier in the season. But the other side of the field, it's been an issue. It's been an issue. The room as a whole, they play just too soft, too much cushion. I know everyone's like, hey, get up, get up. What's happening is they're giving up a lot of passing yards in front of them. And then every now and then you get those splash plays that have happened in each game. And even Coach Riley, he admitted it after Michigan State. They've got to get it cleaned up, especially with the Illinois, Michigan, Notre Dame, Nebraska group of games coming up. Yeah. So it hasn't been all bad. I think they've been pretty good with the run support. And if everyone was healthy, maybe things would be a little bit different. Maybe. But they got to get it figured out. They got to get that nickel spot and the other side of the field opposite to Carlos Nichols in a corner. Got to get that thing worked out. Special teams. Kicker Ryan Sari has been great with his touchbacks. He's perfect on point after attempts. Just one missed field goal. He gets an A. He was thrust into that. And I think he's done enough to keep Caden Chittenden, the transfer from UNLV. You're going to be wearing that Wally Pip letter. He's got to get healthy. But right now, there's no reason to take the job away from Ryan. Sam Johnson, the punter, he's kind of just been a spectator this year, placeholder for Ryan when he's out there doing PATs and field goals. We'll see what happens. I kind of like it when USC doesn't have to punt a lot. Here's where the reason special teams is getting a C. The return game has been non-existent. And last week there were some penalties. So yeah, C. Until the return game kind of steps up a little bit and they clean up some penalties, yeah, you guys are getting a C. Coaching. B. I love Coach Riley's infatuation with the run game this year. I love his infatuation with the tight ends. And as one of this show's viewers commented, in the last two games, Coach Riley has called 80 run plays, 54 pass plays. And that makes it difficult for USC's opponents. How do you game plan? You don't know what to expect anymore. Later on the show, I'm going to answer some mailbag questions regarding some of this stuff. So next segment, talk about Coach Riley, some notes and quotes. Let you hear what he had to say. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than just simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride, and they also have more IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus awards than anyone else. And that's just as August 2025. So nobody's passing up Mazda. From the footwork to the breathwork, athletes sweat all the details. Mazda brings the same intention to how we craft every model. So with all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, moved and be moved. Most people can't name all of their financial accounts or even what they're worth. I have no idea what I'm worth. What's in my bank account is what I'm worth. So whether it's your 401k, properties, or investments, when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there's Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean and easy-to-use interface. On your laptop, do it on your phone. Monarch does all the heavy lifting for you. You can link all of your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel like you're in total control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. Great feature is that it's going to help you save money. I love this feature. I linked all of my accounts to Monarch, and immediately it spotted a few subscriptions that I wasn't even using. It canceled those for me, saving money every month just because of that. I'm telling you, don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONCollege. All right, so Coach Riley was on the Trojans Live radio show earlier this week, and he was throwing around some flowers to his team, to the individuals, but he also had some sours, or do you want to call it dowers? What rhymes with flowers? Sours, dowers, um, including the team's penchant for picking up penalties. Everybody's seen it. Everybody's noticed it. Coach Riley's fully aware of it. They're not ignoring it. However, he's pretty excited about his team's 4-0 start right now. So am I, and I think everyone is. In fact, everyone should be feeling pretty damn good. This Saturday, though, it's going to be a huge test. So we'll see how far they've come. We know they've already, checked one box. They were able to win on the road at Purdue, and that game presented its own challenges. Number one, it was in the Eastern time zone. Number two, there was a weather delay. USC passed that test. Since we're talking about grades, this week at Illinois, different type of challenge. By far, they will be USC's toughest opponent to date. And as we talked about on the crossover edition with Sonny Verma from Locked On Fighting Illini, they're coming off one of those BTA games where they lost 63-10. BTA belt to ass. Yeah, that's what they got. So this is what Coach Riley had to say. Look, we've shown the ability to have really effective units out there. I think really across the board, and now it's that kind of mid-season battle for improvement, for increased consistency across the board, for minimizing mistakes and continuing to play as clean a ball as we can play. We played pretty aggressive. We played pretty physical. I've been excited about that with our team, end quote. So have I. But because they've been playing so aggressive, so physical, sometimes they're caught with their hand in the cookie jar or hands to the face, right? So Coach also talked about some of the things they need to clean up. Penalties been a huge issue. In fact, I wrote about this in my Monday article over there on WeRSC.com. It's called Monday's Morass. Go check it out. Become a subscriber. It only costs you $1. You'll enjoy it. Trust me. A lot of great content over there as well. But Coach Riley actually echoed my sentiments from that story about how you can get a reputation for doing certain things, like the hands to the face penalties. So this is what Coach Riley said on the Trojans Live radio show. Most teams, especially when you're trying to ascend to become a great team, you're trying to kind of find that balance and find that spot where you're playing really physical and aggressive, but you're not having self-inflicted errors and giving good opponents opportunities. We're kind of in that journey right now as a team, would be fair to say. So they're just trying to find where that line is of being aggressive and being too overly aggressive. On the show, we talked about pregame talks. Coaches and the referees before the game they'll talk. Coaches will give the referees some heads up, things to look for that the other team might be doing. Like the other teams talking about, hey, check out USC, and they like to, they're one of the more penalized teams in the conference and in the country. Well, Coach Riley's saying, well, we'll also tell the referees, hey, look for this. We're going to do this type of play, and we want you to be aware of it so you don't think we're, lining up, trying to break a rule or have too many guys in the backfield, that type of thing. So, yes, I talked about how teams earn a reputation. Coach Riley was talking about it as well. And referees know teams have a reputation based on what they do and what they're being told to look for. I love what he had to say about Jaden Mayaba. Cliff Notes version, he said Jaden's humility makes him so coachable. In fact, the quote was, he's incredibly coachable. His humility is his strength. Here's the longer version. We've played different groups that have tried to attack us and attack him in different ways. I think he's done a good job of handling it and just staying patient, just playing a more mature game right now. And I think that's been a good steadying force, not just for the offense, but for our whole team, end quote. As long as Jaden stays humble and coachable, he's got the talent to make it at the next level. And as you saw right now, he's playing at an A-plus level. Not perfect, but I gave him an A. Strong A. The other thing that caught my attention from Coach Riley when he was talking about leadership, quote, leadership's got to come from different ways, different places. It can't always just be the head coach or the coaches. It's most powerful when it's echoed by the guys that are in between the white lines, end quote. So after the game last week, the players spoke up after, in the locker room about the penalties. During the game, Eric Gentry, he found Corey Sims and was like, hey, young man, you can't be doing that on kickoffs. Corey Sims was called for an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty for, just getting in the players' faces. Can't do it. It's not necessary. You can't give other teams short deals. So, Eric's the veteran, took the young man aside and said, hey, check yourself. Don't do that again. We understand. We all make mistakes. I have a feeling, though, that when USC comes home with the win against Illinois, I think USC's confidence level is going to be sky high. And if that's the case, they're 5-0. They're going to be inside the top 20. They might even be ranked above Michigan. So I have just a message for Michigan, because that will be USC's next game. Sucks for you. USC 5-0, riding a wave of confidence. Woo! We know what USC looks like when they believe in themselves. I'm not saying they're there yet, but they're getting pretty close. All right, one more segment to go. I got the mailbag. I got a few questions. I'll answer them for you. And we'll move on to the next episode of Locked On USC. But we still got a little bit more to go here. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer right now. Become a new customer, and if you can bet just $5, and if that bet wins, you're going to get $300 that you can use across the entire FanDuel app. I mean, hello, $5 for $300? Sounds like a great deal. You're going to love using FanDuel because it fits however you like to bet. You like doing the player prop bets? You can do that at FanDuel. You like building a same-game parlay? FanDuel is the place. Or maybe you just want to jump into the action live as it's unfolding. You could do that at FanDuel as well. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. All right, so it's no longer Monday's mailbag. It's been, but it's still time to answer some questions from my everydayers. This one is from Will on Instagram. He actually sent it a couple of weeks ago, but the mailbag since then has been put on hiatus because the season started. Too much to talk about on Mondays, but I do want to address it, and we will do a mailbag segment every week, probably every Wednesday. So it says, hey, Mark, can you obviously dismiss this, but just an idea. Once a week during the NFL season, can you give us a little update on some of the Trojans who had some really good games over the weekend? Like just a quick 3 to 5 minute update. I know the listeners are interested in how the Trojans are doing, and not all the listeners are involved enough to keep up with all the guys. Again, just a thought, fight on. Will, I love this idea. I just need to get more organized. But again, love this idea, and I will get it incorporated in on a weekly basis. So again, thank you for listening, and thanks for the suggestion. Love it. Here's what I can tell you. I know Amon-Ra St. Brown is having a really good year so far. I mean, they're doing FanDuel commercials like, maybe you should pick Amon-Ra St. Brown. I know Jalen Smith, Houston Texans, Kalen Bullock, Houston Texans, having good seasons. Andrew Voorhees is starting for the Ravens. Caleb Williams just had his best game as a pro last week. So there you go. But yes, I will make an effort to incorporate that and make that a segment during the week. Right now, there's just so much to talk about with USC. I apologize. I do need to get a little bit more organized, though. So again, thanks for the suggestion. This one comes from Roy, also on Instagram. Who's going to take the Bruins head coaching job? Then again, who wants that dumpster fire? People are talking Danton Lynn, but I don't think he wants a complete rebuild. If he leaves, it's for a top-notch program or the NFL. Coincidentally, Roy, I actually just got done doing a very long crossover episode with the Locked On UCLA channel with their host, Zach Anderson Yoxheimer. Go check it out. Really good episode. Bottom line, though, I agree. I do not think that Danton Lynn is the right guy for that job right now. Maybe a few years down the line after he's been a head coach somewhere else. UCLA's got big problems, systemic problems. They need to make the decision. Are they all in or are they not? You can't make, right now they're kind of just, they're half in. You went with USC to the Big Ten Conference for the money. UCLA needs to make that financial investment because there is absolutely no reason. And this is not me, this is just me talking real right now. UCLA and you could be competing with USC for recruits in Southern California, and they're not. So until UCLA is ready to dive in financially, make that investment, I don't know. But they need to get a big-time, splashy head coach, someone with a big personality who can handle LA, who can recruit, who can get those NIL people to say, write the check. It's what it took for USC. So you want more detail? Go check out that crossover episode I did with Zach on Locked On UCLA. I think you're going to enjoy it. It's a really good show, really good episode. And finally, this one comes from Darren Hewling, also from Instagram. Mark, can you please discuss how incredibly bad the refs were and how we really didn't really improve on not getting penalties? Discipline and mental errors are really impacting this team. Need to really improve the cornerback play. Fight on. Darren, I could not agree anymore. USC needs to clean up its reputation, without a doubt. But yes, the refereeing has been absolutely horse, caca, crap, terrible. It almost doesn't make me pine for the former Pac-12 officials. Where you're like, man, I don't even think the Pac-12 officials were that bad. Number one, the big conference, they don't call holding on offense. If you play offensive line, you can hold all day long. But they do like to call hands to the face. They do like to call that. And they're real big on calling, unsportsmanlike penalties for trash talking. I get it. Okay. I'm probably okay with that. But yeah, the officiating does seem a little one-sided against USC. But a lot of that's on the Trojans. That's on USC's coaching staff. They got to clean up some of the stuff so the referees aren't looking for it. Again, right now, I think USC has that reputation until they shake it. So I agree with Coach Riley. Keep up the aggressiveness, but lose the dumb mental mistakes. Like the offsides. You can't have that. The running into the kicker, I get it. It was a bad call. The leaping penalty, that was really stupid. Just don't put yourself in the position, I guess. All right. That is it for this episode of Locked On USC. But guess what? I'll be back tomorrow with another episode. And then we will also have MVP3, Marvin Powell III. He'll be back. I'll have a Friday rant. There's so much coming up. So took a little bit of break, a hump day. Didn't talk about Illinois specifically, but we will get back into that on the next episode of Locked On USC. So until then, everyone, you know what to do.